On the last video, I ran you through the budgeting process with Archi demo code. We broke the cost down into the main buckets, the salaries bucket, the overheads bucket into the fixed and the variable, and the interest and depreciation to a separate bucket. We used a multiplier to drive the revenue numbers, and we arrived at a budget of $5 million for the year. And we then shaped that $5 million worth of revenue across the year according to what we expected the staff utilisation to be. Now obviously, not all of that $5 million worth of work has been won or secured yet. And our budget story becomes a lot more believable when we can add that substance to it with a detailed revenue forecast. So in this video, we're going to break down the sales funnel. We're going to break it down into three main categories: secured, unsecured, and marketing targets. We're going to capture the information like who is it, what's the address, what's the project worth, what's the likelihood of us winning it, what's the length of the job, when's it start, and how much is it. This allows us to do a weighted average calculation of all those opportunities over the next 12 months. And what we want to do is overlay that with our budget to make sure that there's no problems there in delivering that $5 million worth of work. Okay, so sit back, grab a cuppa, and I'll walk you through the process of how we go about it. Okay, so just a quick recap. This was our budget file, our $5 million in revenue up here. We have direct labour, chargeable and non-chargeable, overheads, and coming down to the profit. Now what we want to do is compare this against what's in the actual revenue forecast that includes both our secured, unsecured, and marketing targets. So we're going to take these numbers across over to the forecast and we're going to check it out there. Okay, so you can see here we've got our revenue forecast, the 5 million. At this stage, our forecast is telling us that we're going to make about 40,000 over that for the year, but you can see from the shape of the chart that there's a bit of a problem. We've got a bunch of overs, I guess, in December, January, February, and that's when we've forecast for staff to be on Christmas holidays like they traditionally and typically are. And we've got a bit of a hole through April, May, and June. And even though our full year target's giving us some comfort, I've still got a few concerns here. So just looking into the detail, we can see here within the secured section, these are all jobs that we're currently working on. They're contracted, we've got a fee agreement in place, and it's just a case of doing the work. So we've programmed that in according to the rate that we think that we're going to be able to do that work. Now, unsecured, you can see here that there's still project names in there. So these are specifically identifiable. They're real projects, but they haven't been won yet. So we assign a value to it. We assign a probability of it going ahead, a probability of us winning it, which gives us the weighted fee that I've highlighted there. It's then a case of plugging that in. It's a case of finding out when's the start date, how long does it go for, and essentially what shape it is. And the same for marketing targets. I haven't bothered with putting any fictitious customer names in there, but they're typically going to be clients that you're working on. Logically, there's a progression that these jobs go through the funnel. It starts off as being a marketing target, becomes an unsecured job, becomes a secured job. Now, obviously it doesn't all work like that, but that's a pretty logical progression. Now, the same thing. We've got to weight the fee, we've got to assign a probability of winning it, and then we've got to put in when it starts, how long it goes for, what the shape is. Now this one here, I've just done a pretty basic one, but you'd expect that to normally be staggered. And all of these bottom line totals, so, I've got architecture, interiors, urban design, and I've got a spare one. There's nothing in those other divisions. This firm is purely architectural, but we're picking these bottom lines off and we're sending them back into this summary here. And that's where we're getting our 5.05. As I said, we've got a problem here. We're going to have to go back into the detail of that and find out, do these projects actually really start there? Or can we manage it to try and fill this hole here with some of this excess stuff here? And the way to do that is just simply going back in and querying it and saying, is Bradman Road, 99 Bradman Road, actually going to start in November? Or given it's so close to Christmas, might that push to February? So that'll obviously have an impact if we take some of that out and push that to the end. Same amount of revenue, we've just moved it. But some of it's dropped off. We were 40 grand up, now we're 84 grand down. So we're actually short. And we need to be focusing on that sales funnel. We need to be converting these yellow jobs into green, and we need to find more blue targets that we can turn into yellow. And as the year progresses, I like to backfill these months, July, August, etc., with black for actual. And we can then set up a rolling 12-month and a static 12-month chart. So we can start, and we should be, at the end of July, starting to look out here in July 25. What's going to happen then? We always got to have this 12-month visibility in front of the business. I'm David Dillon from Custodian Back Office. Thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more updates of Archie Demo Co.